Welcome to Death and Aliens, an in-depth look at horror and sci-fi TV from two friends who vaguely know what they're doing. I'm Courtney.
And I'm MK.
And how are you? And what are you drinking? Because I need to ask you that.
I'm great. This is the
Is it peach
cran.
drink?
It is not a pink drink. It's the cranberry lemonade refresher, which I'm trying to drink as many of them until it goes away because it was part of the Christmas flavors. And once it's gone, I'm afraid it'll never come back. But it's
Mhm.
basically cranberry, orange, and lemonade. Um, it's delicious. And then I have the vanilla sweet cream cold foam with it.
Mhm.
So.
That sounds really sweet.
It's actually really not because
Really? Okay.
I mean, it's definitely sweet, but lemon, orange, and cranberry are all tart things, and I don't have any
Mm,
extra sweetener. So, like the cold foam itself is
sure.
sweet.
But it's not really. Like I love a cold foam and
Yeah,
stuff because it doesn't add a lot of sweetener to it.
exactly. And so like and I don't add it, it's no added sweetener and it doesn't have any of the tea or any of the like it's just cranberry juice, orange juice, and lemonade basically. So it's like really actually not that
Mhm.
sweet. It's like the kind of tart where your mouth feels dry after you drink it.
I don't like that either.
Oh my God, I do. It makes me
I only like cranberry out of the things you've told me. And the sweet cream.
You don't like lemonade?
Not really. It makes me sick. Lemonade and orange juice are both too acidy for me. They're too.
Oh,
That's how they make me.
oh.
Call it Caitlin. She'll tell you. That's she loves that. That's her one thing about me that every time she's like, "How does that taste?" And she goes, "That's what I used to tell her every time it was too acidy for
Yeah,
her."
I
Yeah.
love it. Yeah, so I love it. It's amazing. But yeah, I'm great. I Dan and I celebrated 1 month of being
1 month.
married this week,
Mm.
um, which is crazy. Um,
It's bonkers.
I was like just thinking today though, I was like, I'm just like really happy. Like I have a house and a husband and like I love my job and like I'm happy. But
God, you call up you from 2 years ago and let her
right.
know it's gonna be okay.
Man. Yeah, no, I like think about my 30th birthday party and sitting under the stairs crying 3 years ago and just being like, but like, look at me now. But yeah, so because Tuesday was our month anniversary, which okay, so his aunt and uncle have their entire marriage, like because they learned it from this little old lady that Aunt Kai used to work with. Um, Celebrate every month on the number day for their anniversary, just so that they have like once a month a night that's just about the two of them, no matter
Yeah.
what. And like they were like sometimes we had to like move it around and do it 2 days early or 2 days late because of like whatever was going on in the kids' lives and everything. But like you make sure to celebrate time for yourself. And like that's what I've been trying to do with the 222 thing. Like,
Mhm.
but they call it a mensiversary because because anniversary comes from the fact that annos is the Latin
Year.
word for year and mensis is the Latin word for month.
Right. That makes sense.
And it makes perfect sense. But menses is also because of its relation to the month has to do with your monthly bleeding. And I was
Mhm.
like, Dan, I can't in my right mind tell you happy period verse. Like that just sound I
Right.
can't. For me it and then he was joking, he was like, if you're gonna make me take you out once a month, you're gonna call it a men's anniversary. And I was like, um but so we went out to Cheesecake Factory, which I
Precious.
love.
What
Um
cheesecake did you get?
Dolce de leche.
Mm,
He got the mango key lime, and it was like pretty good.
I love a mango.
I
Love
see,
a
and
mango.
I do too, but like cheesecake, I never go for the fruit flavors.
I don't either. I go for the chocolate usually.
Yeah. Um, but well, so we went to Cheesecake Factory because our original plan was to go to this indoor putt-putt, like mini golfing place.
Mhm.
Um, and the Cheesecake Factory was in the same mall that this indoor mini golfing was. But Dan twisted his ankle on Tuesday. And so we went and we had dinner and we were walking back to the car to put the cheesecake in the car because it's cold enough here that is like a refrigerator.
Look for intermittent cloud with a high of 78 degrees Fahrenheit.
So I have my Alexa set at 7:30 every day to tell me the weather for the next day.
From Thursday, February
I
6th, 8 p.m. to Friday,
I didn't know you could hear her because I couldn't hear her until I saw your face.
could hear her and I was really confused because Dan is not home. And I thought it was coming from my downstairs, and I was like, "Who the fuck is in my house?"
No, it's Alexa.
It's Alexa. A little bit Alexa.
Alexa's.
Yeah. So while we're walking to the car to like basically put our stuff in the refrigerator while we go mini golfing, he was like hobbling to the car, and I was like, "Sweet baby, we're not doing this." And he was like, no, we're going. Like, I want to have a date night with you. Like, we haven't gone out in forever. Like, let's go. I go, or we can, I don't know, like go next weekend or something. Like, we can go mini golfing on any day, whenever we want, for no reason. What we're not going to do is spend all night standing and walking around when you can't walk and then have you not be able to walk at work tomorrow.
Right.
It's Tuesday. Like,
yeah.
And he was like, okay, we'll go home, but please make a note of the fact that I'm doing this grudgingly.
Like, good. Add it to the list. Check.
Right.
Done.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So we came home. And instead of mini golfing, we watched A Haunting in Venice, which I had not watched yet.
It's good.
It's good.
A Haunting in Venice, that is the one with what's her name? The old lady. What's the older lady? What's her name?
What?
Right? They're all at the house.
Yeah.
What's her name? Michelle?
Oh, Michelle Yeoh, yes.
Michelle Yeoh, yeah.
Sorry, I was thinking of, because it's one of the Kenneth Branagh, Agatha Christie, like Hercule Poirot movies, and I was like, what old lady? It's Kenneth Branagh. What are you talking about?
No.
But yes, Michelle Yeoh is in that one. But like I first of all, I love Agatha Christie. And I know the movies themselves have gotten some mixed reviews, but I genuinely love Kenneth Branagh as Poirot. I think he does an amazing job, and I think he's a wonderful director. And I don't care if it's hoity-toity or whatever. All the people want to say shit about Kenneth Branagh. I fucking love him. Do not care. And
I will say, out of all of the recent ones, I did like that one. I didn't like all of the other ones that have come out recently.
See,
but I did like
so all three in this current series: Murder on the Orient Express, Death on the Nile, and The Haunting in Venice. I liked all of them. Death on the Nile was the least true to the book.
Okay.
But I thought Russell Brand in Death on the Nile restored my faith in humanity.
I see that one.
Oh my God. Sometimes people forget that Russell Brand wasn't famous just for being a drug addict. Like, he actually was a really good actor.
Yeah.
And this movie was like proof that like sober Russell Brand is still a really good actor. Like, and I loved it. But yeah, no, but I've loved all three of them. I really have. And it made me happy. And so
I did really like Haunting in Venice.
Yeah, it was good. So yeah, how are you?
I'm okay. I've had this bottle of wine for longer than I'd like to admit, because I've been really interested in trying it. It's called Filled Theory. It's from Lodi, California, which I'm not a huge California wine gal.
Yeah.
Just not. But this one was just really interesting because it's like different varietals than you would normally get here. And it's like night harvested, and like, it's just a lot of weird things they did to this wine. I do not know what it's a Albarino, which means nothing to me.
Nope. I'm not a big white wine connoisseur. I just know I don't like Chardonnay.
See, I don't drink a lot of white wine, but Chardonnay. So usually I lean towards a Chardonnay, but this one, it was just really interesting to me. So I've just tried it, and that's how I feel about it. So I don't know. It may grow on me. It's a little sweeter than I'd like, but it's not a terrible flavor. It doesn't want to tell me the flavors, but it definitely has like an appley undertone. But yeah, it truly does not tell me anything about this wine. And I got it a year ago, so I don't remember anything from then. So aside from wine, I'm okay. I've been going through it. So been watching a lot of TV and listen to a lot of podcasts and trying really hard to cram in a lot of bar lectures. So I did get all my bar stuff done, turned in my application, was accepted as complete, but I do still have stuff I have to turn in and pay for, just not today. I had to drive an hour to get my fingerprinting done, which I did, God willing, to a town I had never heard of. And then they talked about my town they had never heard of. And I was like, we are not a good pair. I just need to go home.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've just been like doing a lot of things. And I've been watching this show called, did you ever watch? It's called The Real O'Neills. It's a sitcom on Hulu, but it was on like Fox, I think.
Yeah, I heard of it. I remember when it was on. I never watched it.
So I never heard of it, but it kept coming up on my Hulu. And I was like, I don't really want to watch a sitcom because I just finished like a month ago. I finished Ghost, the US Ghost, even though that's supposed to come back. That's back now. I think it came back at the end of the month for the second half of the season. I've forgotten. I think it was the 30th. But so I just finished catching up on that. And I was like, I don't really want another sitcom, but I don't want something too heavy.
Yeah.
So I ended up watching Murder in a Small Town, which is really good. The acting is okay, but the show is good.
Okay.
And I've been watching The Real O'Neills, which is really funny, and I'm slightly obsessed. And then I'm just obsessed with High Potential. I don't know if you've watched that show. I've been watching it like week to week as it comes out. I love Caitlin Olsen, big fan. So I was stoked whenever it came out. And it's based off of like an Australian procedural. But it's like, do you know the show? Are you familiar with it?
No, but we've talked about it on the podcast before. Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't realize it was based off of an Australian like procedural drama until like last week or week before. But so I'm just kind of like keeping up with that. Finished Agatha All Along finally, which was really good. And then I finished the first season of Luke Cage, which was took me way too long to get into.
I asked Dan the other day if he'd watched Agatha All Along, and he goes, yeah, it was good. I don't know why they made it, though. And I was like,
what do you mean?
I go, that's the weirdest review of something I've ever heard. Like, yeah, I enjoyed it. I just don't know why they made it.
To be fair, I think that was my reaction to Moon Knight.
Moon Knight
because I was like,
really good, though.
It was really good, but it doesn't fit. Like, I don't know why it exists.
Okay,
but I did really love it.
But to be fair, that's how I felt about Skeleton Crew, and that might be the best Star Wars show that has ever come out. I love it.
I don't know anything about any
Skeleton Crew and Andor were the most unrelated to the main trilogies of Star Wars, and by far the most successful shows.
Interesting. I will when I finish my Marvel. I'm gonna go into Star Wars world. But also like Luke Cage, I was so hyped and wanted to like it so much more because I loved him in Jessica Jones.
I did hear that Luke Cage was disappointing compared to Daredevil and Jessica Jones.
Well, and I think it's because like it's high energy, but it's high energy in the setting like Batman's high energy. So like you go into Batman expecting Gotham.
Yeah.
You go into Luke Cage expecting Daredevil and Jessica Jones, and you're getting Gotham. And it's like it's not bad.
Yeah.
But it's just like you're coming off of this high from these other shows that he's also in.
Right.
And you don't get that energy. You're getting the like mobster vibes and the like old school Harlem like gangs coming up. And it's like, I like those things. Those are some of my favorite things. Yeah. However, not what I wanted and not what I expected after seeing him in the other shows, which is disappointing. And I did like, I mean, and it's got so much Rosario Dawson in it, who's like my big girl crush, major girl crush on me. Like she's the one. I
hate her.
I know you do. I'm obsessed. I love her so much. But she's also all throughout Daredevil.
Right.
She may be in an episode of Jessica Jones. I don't remember. But she's really throughout Daredevil, and she's a lot in this show too. And I just couldn't vibe. I did get to it by the end where I was like into it up, but it was like end of the season. I was like, okay, now I'm into it, and now it's over. Like, so it was disappointing. But I'm going back to my next thing. I think is like the second half of season 2 or 3 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or whatever, which always takes me ages to get back into.
Yeah.
Because it's not a bad show, but it's not a great show. And I think it doesn't help that like I watched Agent Carter because I've been watching chronologically, and I watched Agent Carter first, and Agent Carter is so good.
I loved Agent Carter.
So good. And
Yeah.
it's trying to build on that same style, but it
Yeah.
did differently because it was with a different company.
Yeah.
Who did Agents of Shield, and it's just not as good of a storyline.
I
It's
mean,
just not as
listen,
good of a production team. Like,
just
ugh,
wait until you get to the Disney era of Marvel TV shows because like I
I've
know
watched most of them.
I know you've watched most of them, but like in your rewatch, when you actually like sit down and
I
do it
know.
chronologically and you like realize how vastly different the highs and lows are.
Yeah, I think because I've seen through Jessica Jones wasn't Disney though either, was
No,
it?
no, that
Jessica
was
Jones started
Netflix.
out.
That was
Okay,
Netflix, yeah.
because Jessica Jones and Daredevil were Netflix. What was the first Disney
The
one? Do you
first Disney
remember?
was WandaVision.
What was the first Disney one? Oh my
Yes.
gosh.
Yes, ma'am.
I did love WandaVision, but I am not there yet. I am
No, no,
real far
no.
from that.
The first three for the Disney were WandaVision, Loki, and Winter Soldier, or the Captain America,
Yeah,
Falcon, and Winter Soldier. Um,
which was
it-
really good, but also so mild, so like
yeah, but when
lackluster.
you watch them in order, and you watch WandaVision and Loki, and Winter and
Yeah.
Captain, and like you're like, oh,
Yeah, I did. I think I waited a year before I finished like adding up watching that one because I just tried to start it when it came out. And I was like, I can't watch this right now. And I did end up enjoying it well enough. Like I liked the
see,
storyline. I thought it was
I
done
think you're the
okay.
only one. I think you're literally the only person I know who
Yeah.
could even stomach it.
Yeah. I watched it because I was gonna watch it either way because I'm not gonna not watch a Marvel.
Yeah.
But I didn't love it. But I am glad that I waited like a year to watch it because I couldn't watch it after WandaVision and Loki. Like it wasn't as good. And
Yeah.
so I couldn't watch it. But
Yeah, but then you get to things like Miss Marvel was way better than I expected it to be.
it was surprising. Like it's not my favorite, but it is
Yeah.
much better than I anticipated. And
But
I
then
love the vibes with her and Brie Larson. Like I really did. I did love the like casting.
oh, see, I didn't watch the Marvels, the movie. I just watched the TV show, which Brie
Well,
Larson
no,
was
I guess she just shows up in the end.
at the very end, yeah. Which because
Yeah,
um
I did watch some
but then
Marvels. They all run
also
together.
the She-Hulk was not good.
I liked She-Hulk.
Oh my God, I hated
I
every
really
minute of
liked
that
it,
show.
but I didn't like it as a Marvel show.
I hated every
I
minute
liked
of that
it
show.
as a kitschy fun show.
Oh yeah, okay.
But so like you know me, I'm very good at separating things in my mind of like, this is not this anymore. You told me it was this, it's not.
It's
We're gonna
not.
put it over here and I'm gonna watch it like it's this other thing.
Yeah.
And that is how I get through shows that other people are like, this is terrible. I'm like, no, it's terrible over here. But if you put it over here, it's not that bad.
And you know me, I have never DNF'd anything in my life.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I've enjoyed any of it.
I know. All right. Yeah, I did surprisingly like She-Hulk. But yeah, this is not a Marvel podcast, much to last week's and this week's discussions. I know it's shocking to hear. We are sci-fi and horror. But before we get into it, do you want to bring us up in this world that is slowly devolving into nothing?
This quote will not bring us up, but it's
Cool.
okay. It'll
It's
just
okay, I have
dissolve.
wine.
Gratitude. Oh no, I clicked on. Okay, there we go. Gratitude, appreciation, giving thanks. No matter what words you use, it all means the same thing. Happy. We're supposed to be happy. Grateful for friends, family, happy to just be alive, whether we like it or not.
Yeah. Yep. That's good. That doesn't send you into an existential crisis at all.
It just reflects the crisis we're already living in.
Exactly. That's how I feel every day. I bring us up just so you can take us back down. And then I just drag you through the mud with Hannibal. We have a really good setup of our happy times and not so happy times. We should really end on a happy note.
We talk about Marvel so much because it's better than talking about what we have to talk about.
I know. I'm just like, I'm back into Marvel that I'm just like in it again.
Yeah.
Which is fun. Anyways, but today that's not our story. Today our story is Hannibal. We are talking about season 3, episode 7, Digestivo, or Digestivo. I say it Digestivo.
No,
Other
it is.
people say it different ways.
I think it is D. It's Italian, right? It's supposed to be Italian, right?
It's Italian, yeah.
Yeah, then it's
Italian.
D.
I think in the bar sometimes they say it differently, but I don't say it that way. It's fine. It aired July 18th of 2015. It was rated 9.3 out of 10, which is real high.
Real
And
high.
this, in my opinion, felt a little more like our regular show. Not quite, still have feelings.
It was
did feel more like our regular show than
it
the
was
rest of the season.
still it was still a struggle.
Yeah.
But was it the first time I felt like I was watching Hannibal again? Yes.
Yes. Number one song is the same as See You Again. Speaking of Marvel, our number one movie this week is Ant-Man, which also controversial movie. No one seems to like it. I love Ant-Man.
I love Ant-Man.
I love Ant-Man. It is the most hated on movie, I feel like, all the time. The number one book is The English Spy by Daniel Silva, who I've heard of Daniel Silva. I don't know anything about him, and I've never read one of his books. But I've heard of him, and I hear he's good. This day is real boring, and I am sorry about it, but there is just not a lot that has happened. This is the day that PayPal decided to do their separate IPO from eBay for the first time. They've become their own company, and abandoned eBay. Alex Rocco from The Godfather died at 79. And last but certainly not least, we got our first virtual flight over Pluto, where people could go and do a little virtual flight over Pluto,
Right.
which is kind of nifty.
I saw a performance of Guys and Dolls and at a local theater and forgot that I've never been in love before was from Guys and Dolls. And I have to remember at 2015 I had really just like a year ago broken up with Brent, and he had recorded that song for me at one point. And so when the overture started playing, I immediately lost my shit.
Sobbed. Absolutely, yeah.
But then in the weirdest turn of events, the first musical that Dan worked on at Joe's that I helped with was Guys and Dolls.
Guys and Dolls.
Yeah.
Well, you had to what's the word? You have to come back from, you have to redim it.
Yeah.
It got its redemption arc.
The Guys and Dolls redemption arc.
What more do you need in 2015? So we also have a new director this episode.
Okay, I kind of actually thought that. There's a couple scenes that I was like, I think this is new.
It is, and his credits do align with the things that happened in this episode.
Okay.
So it's Adam Kane. He is known for Prodigal Son, which I started but never finished, and it has very Hannibal vibes. Do you know this show?
No.
So his dad is in prison, and he's a profiler basically, and so he basically uses his dad like they use Hannibal and Silence of the Lambs to catch criminals. I've only seen 3 or 4 episodes, but it was really good. I started when it came out.
Okay.
It's on my list to go back to. So Prodigal Son, American Gods.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah.
There we go. And then Deadly Class, which I haven't seen but could be interesting. I didn't look up a huge amount about it.
Nope.
And the Boondock Saints.
Okay.
So what a collection we have here.
Okay.
For Adam Kane. And I have no information about him. His dad was a composer for a lot of older shows, but not any that we really know about. From the 20s, 30s, or from the early, maybe not 20s, 30s, but early stuff, not from 60s, 70s. And then his brother also does some acting. Also not anything we've heard of, though. He did direct so most of his shows. So Prodigal Son, he directed 5 episodes on, but most of the other shows he did 1 or 2.
Okay, but also I'm sorry, I'm looking at a list of the other things that he has directed episodes for. Pushing Daisies, My Own Worst Enemy, Supernatural, Mercy, Heroes, The Mentalist, Being Human, Hannibal 24, Live Another Day, Daredevil, Supergirl, and Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So a wild array of things.
Yeah.
But we have our Brian Fuller tie-in with Pushing Daisies. So, I'm sure that's how he got the gig.
Right. Well, American Gods also.
Oh, I always forget he's American Gods.
I know. Well, and Star Trek Discovery. Star Trek Discovery, Brian Fuller started.
Oh, yeah.
The new Star Trek.
Also doesn't make sense to me. But
correct. Hold on. But also his wife. Oh, no, she was only in 1 episode.
His ex-wife.
Ex-wife.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he was married to. I read that wrong. What? She doesn't look familiar. Like looking at her face, she actually
Right.
doesn't look familiar, but then I've seen everything she's been in. So I'm like,
Yes,
oh.
correct. I had that same thought when I was looking at her because I was like, oh, I'll talk about her because she doesn't have anything else to talk
Right.
about. No, couldn't do that either. However, our writer's still the same Steve Lightfoot. Our editor's still the same Michael Dougherty. So everyone else is recurring. Our guest star of the week is Giorgio Lopano, who plays the inspector. He is known for The International, Fear of Loving, Munchen 7, and Flood. These are not things I know.
Nope.
They are things he's in. He is very Italian, so he has done a lot of Italian stuff, not a lot of American stuff. He also doesn't have a lot about him, but he was recently somehow tied into a stage version or something of The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. Is that the name of it?
Yeah.
Okay, I was making sure I said that right. He was recently in something like that because he shared it on his Instagram. And he's into CrossFit, but it may be new that he's into CrossFit. Couldn't figure that out.
Right.
Not a lot of help on his Instagram. So, but there's nothing else about him other than that. So now we begin. We're in Italy, as you know. And
Also, I would just like to point out that as soon as this started playing, I go, hey, Dan, remember when you didn't know what happened last episode? He goes, yeah. I go, this is just watch.
Right here.
I go, remember how I said the next episode will start with the fill in the blank? Here's the fill in the blank.
Yeah.
So called that.
You 100% did like step for step. I was like, did she like see the opening?
Nope, I didn't. I will tell you right now, I know what the next episode is called and what it starts because I lost.
I was hoping you didn't see it
because I lost the remote and I was like, turn it off, turn it off, turn it off. And Dan was like, oh, that's a really cool episode name. And I go, and then just says it as if he doesn't realize that I'm not supposed to know. And I go, yes. And he goes, what? I go, never mind. I've just been waiting for it all season.
I meant to text you and be like, don't look at the next episode.
Lost the remote. And I was like, I want to turn it off. But last week I did not lose the remote. I did not see this. I knew nothing. I just understood exactly how they were going to play it.
Right.
Because they wanted to shock you with the twist ending, but then they also had to explain it because it was really fucking confusing.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is exactly what they did. We start with the detective walking into the scene of Hannibal trying to scalp Will. And the detectives are giving Hannibal and Will over to Mason because they get two for two different prices, whatever.
Yeah, they both have bounties on their head.
Right. And so they're like, we don't really need you though, FBI agent.
They're like, there's no money for you.
Yeah, they're like, so you can take him out. And then they like go to leave. However, when they're going to scalp him in the same way that Will was meant to be scalped.
Which, I'll be honest, I thought they were going to do it. I thought
that was the nervous.
I was so nervous. I was like, really? That's how he's going to go out? We're going to lose him after all this? Which, of course, doesn't make sense because we're moving into Red Dragon, so like we have to have Jack.
Right.
But I was like,
yeah. Yeah, I for sure thought this was the end of Jack, and I was like, I don't know how we're playing it, but here we go. But no, don't worry. Chio had her sniper rifle outside and shot straight through the window at both of the like detectives that were left. Immediately killed them dead. So good for her. Don't always say good for her, but today good for her.
I know. I was like, never was really into Chio, but not mad about it.
So she comes in to chat with Jack, and he's like, she walks in, he goes, you're on the wrong floor. She was like, where did they go? And so they talk about that Will and Hannibal were taken, and he's like, I can give you the address. Like, I know where they're going, whatever. However, you have to let me out so I can get home alive, because that doesn't seem to be what people want.
Right.
He's like, I just want to get back to the States alive. And he gives her the address, and we go into the credits. And then we come back with our new couple, Margot and Bloom. Mm-hmm. And in the midst of awakening, Margot gets a call from the detective, and he tells Bloom that Hannibal and Will have been captured and delivered. And she's like, cool. And we go to Mason. and he is talking again about the depths of the pig fat and the knife from his dad, and how to test them all as he's got, Hannibal strung up. And
Right.
he just keeps comparing them to pigs. They're like super chained up. And he so his whole plan was he was going to say that Hannibal killed Jack and then had gone off. So like he was just on the lam.
Yeah.
And then Margot comes in and it's like, BT dub, Jack's not dead. Which is good for us, not for them.
Right.
So she's so laissez-faire. I don't like how laissez-faire she is about this whole situation. We do get past it. In the
Yeah.
beginning, I'm like, get over it.
I know. And part of me knew it was an act because that's who she has to be for Mason, but part of me was also like, are you how much of the will on accident turning into Hannibal is happening to Alana? Like I'm not
Right. Yeah. Like it was too much. And then we see like Alana talking to him and she's still his therapist. And I was like, how much of the parallel are we gonna get like from Jillian?
Right.
And or what's her name, Melinda? I can't for the life of me call her anything but Jillian, it seems.
Bedelia?
Bedelia, that's it. I was close.
Melinda.
I said Belinda. At least got the right B letter. But close. But Bloom is still his therapist, and we learn that even though Jack has gotten away, he's like, as soon as he landed, I started calling threats into the Italian police force that he's been harassing me and calling me in the middle of the night with threats.
Well, no, and he doesn't even say just the Italian police force. He called the FBI. He called he called every law enforcement agency that might have Hannibal anywhere on a record ever, and was like, he's threatening me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he's got all of this stuff going on, and then he's been harassing him, and he's like, it's just me and him. Like, those are your two sources.
Oh, I'm sorry. He didn't say Hannibal was threatening him. He said Jack. Yeah.
And then we jump over to the dinner table, and we are with Mason and Hannibal and Will. What a team. And we learn that Mason's whole goal now is to switch faces because his face is not producing quickly enough into it. It would eventually turn into his own face, but he doesn't have time for that. So he's going to just take Will's face as his own, because why not? And then he's going to use said face to eat Hannibal, because these are very normal things for a person to do.
These are the thoughts that everyone has.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So we're going through this whole situation, and they're just like staring at him. And he goes into this whole analogy of the guy who cooked his friend's penis to eat it, and it was overcooked, but they ate it anyways. I have heard this story. It is a pretty frequently told true crime story. Because he
haven't.
They found each other on one of the dark web cannibal sites. And I don't think that they were planning to kill each other. He was just going to eat his penis, and then they overcooked it. It was a whole thing, and it was not good. They got caught. It ended. But so he uses this story to talk about how he's going to eat Hannibal, but it's not going to be overcooked or anything. It's going to be perfectly created. That's why he has Cordell doing it. Again, the most I understand Hannibal is unhinged, and Will's pretty unhinged too. Mason is the most. Mason is the most unhinged person on this show. Not a question in my mind.
Yes.
And so then he starts talking about I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to drink martinis made with children's tears. And I was like, I love a good martini. Please do not put any tears in it.
I mean,
you psychopath.
That is a very psycho thing. That does sound like something I would say after a really rough day of teaching, but I wouldn't.
It does.
I feel like the context is different.
100%. That's what I was going to say. You take it in a different context. Yours is I want them to cry because they've made me cry. I have made too many emotional decisions today.
Yeah.
He's I'm just going to become even more unhinged than I was 30 seconds ago. And it's that's a de-evolution. You're evolving at this point, so we don't need that. But he does tell him that he is planning to keep Hannibal alive for quite some time. He's going to just chop off different pieces of him and
Which I guess is really only fair because that's what he did to Dr. What's his name?
Yep, he did, and it does make sense. It's not incorrect. However, anyone who does this is unhinged. So
Oh, no, no,
that's
no.
the
I'm not
problem.
condoning it as like
Um,
a behavioral choice.
right.
I'm just saying like it's not like Hannibal should be shocked by this because he
Sure.
for sure has done it.
Right, right, right. But then he starts telling him like he's gonna have a pajama party and they're gonna like go through this whole little thing. And I was like, that is a weird correlation to make. And then Cordell leans over to like put lotion or something. I don't even know what he had in his hand, some kind of lotion or something on Will.
Oh
And
no,
when
yeah, no,
he's
he because Mason wants to wear Will's face
to wear
and
his
Will's
face,
skin is
yeah.
looking a little dry, so he's like, go put lotion
Yeah,
on him because I don't want my face to be dry.
right. And so when he does that, he leans over and Will just bites his face off.
Which
And I was
was
like, okay.
horrific. It was horrific to watch, but I also kind of was like, you go, Glen
Get
Coco.
it. Yeah, exactly. Like I was here for it a little bit. Like I didn't want to watch it, but I was pleased with
Yeah,
this situation
correct.
shift. And so Mason tells him that he is not going to be allowed to come to the pajama party. Because that is not how we act. So he's going to die a
Which
lot
is
quicker.
kind of the funniest way to react to that ever.
That is the wildest thing.
Now you can't come to my party.
Right. And also, like, thank God. Like, is that how you get out of Mason's pajama parties? You bite someone's face off? I'm
Because
in.
if that's
Like,
all, yeah, if that's all it takes to not have to go to his pajama party, I might have to learn how to deal with that.
to stomach that, yeah. Like, I would do it in a heartbeat. So then we see that Cordell is sewing his face back together, that has been bitten off, so he can be in one piece again. And then we jump over to Hannibal, who is being branded on the back, even though Cordell says that Mason would prefer if it was his face because he fought for some act. I forget what act it was, but some act that says that you can brand animals on the face, but the government said you cannot. And so he would have liked to do that, but he can't because that's not how animals are allowed to be treated. And he really wants him to have the like true pig experience. This man, this man. If you wanted to
True.
study someone's brain,
The true pig experience.
like I cannot.
I mean, but like
Um,
also it's like so funny because I genuinely feel like somebody could sell that.
right?
Like I feel like we live in a society where everyone's like, I just want to like have a real authentic like
Yeah,
experience. I want to know what that's like. Like, and like
right.
granted, sometimes it's like really cool. Like I remember in fifth grade, I had a field trip where we stayed overnight at a Revolutionary War fort, and we had like an authentic experience. Like we had to like sleep
Mhm.
in the attic of the castle with like no like electricity or anything.
Right.
And then like
We did that one
we
time,
had
yeah.
to like cook in the like actual kitchen from the
Mhm.
fort without like with just the tools that they would have had at that time. But like
Mhm.
also like if somebody was hurt, we would have like they would have like saved us because we're children.
Sure, for
But
sure.
like and like that was cool. And like I got like but like you think about all like the girls who go to like Bali to have authentic experiences, which like was also me. I did that too. So like but like that I could that somebody be like just you want to be one with the animals. You want to have the authentic pig experience. Like you
Yeah,
could sell that to a bunch of white girls in Indonesia.
absolutely. And that could be such a cult. Like branding, there would be people that would join that cult. Not me, but there would be people that could join that
Hmm.
cult and be like, I'm in for
Yeah.
this pig cult where we're all branded.
Yeah.
Not on our faces though. Um,
Because you're not allowed to do
it's
that.
you're not allowed to do that. So then we jump over to Mason and Margot, and he starts asking her how long she's been with Bloom. And she's like, oh, not that long. And so then he starts asking about Bloom's uterus and her childbearing hips. And like, this is the ickiest thing. This is the ickiest thing. Like, he is just the worst. Like,
Yeah.
the worst. And I think this is part of the episode where I was like, if this was the first episode I watched of Hannibal, I would not have wanted to watch the show.
Correct. No, yeah.
Like, he's gotten ickier each time, but like this specific scene was kind of like the the like straw on the camel's back or whatever they say.
Yeah.
I was like, this is it. This is the last one. I just can't deal with him. And we learn that it's okay. She doesn't need to keep looking for a surrogate because he's already found one because he kept all of her eggs that he stole from her body, which not surprising. I assumed he did that. But he's got a surrogate who lives on the farm. I felt it was pretty obvious.
I was like, did you not
Immediately.
immediately know that it was an animal? Because I did.
Immediately. I did not know if it was a pig or a horse because we had that whole horse thing a couple of, like last season. And a horse is larger usually, but I did know it was going to be an animal.
Oh yeah.
So then we go to Bloom and Will, and so this is the first time they've seen each other since this whole happenings, since the Abigail death scene. I think. Oh no, she came to visit him at the hospital when he woke up. They did see each other then too.
Oh yeah.
So then she tells him that she's Mason's therapist, which is unhinged. But she also tells him that Jack's alive. And he's like, cool. I could care less about literally anything right now. But great, fine.
Thank you. Cool. Cool.
And she's telling him, she's like, we were following, I do not remember the guy's name, but she was like, we were following this guy, but we should have been following you the whole time. She was like, but I wanted to get to Hannibal before you could get to Hannibal.
Yeah.
So that I could protect you from this situation.
And it does kind of seem like she like genuinely realizes that like she knew Will couldn't do it himself.
Yeah.
But she needed to protect him.
And she's telling him, she's like, I don't want anything to happen to you. I don't care if Hannibal's tortured. He could be tortured all day, all night. I don't care. Yeah. And she was like, but I don't want, she was like, I won't let him die. Like, I won't let him be tortured to death. But I also don't want anything to happen to you. And Will tells her, he's like, we've seen all these other people evolve. All of these like different things are happening. You also have to evolve and you're going to have to spill some blood. Like, this is just the way it is. Like, no one gets out of this unstained.
Which is terrifying.
And yeah. So then we go to the pig cages and Hannibal is tied up like a pig. And Margot goes to see him and talk with him. And they start having their therapy session, as they do. And she tells him about the surrogate baby. And she's like, I don't know what's going on. But I don't like that this has happened. And he tells her, he's like, the only solution is to kill Mason. He's like, that's what
I've been telling you that. Yeah. And like, I was like, never have I like really agreed with Hannibal, but like at this point, after everything, you are in fact in too deep to do anything but kill him.
And he tells her, she's like, so if I let you go, are you going to kill him? He's like, no. He's like, you should do it. It's going to be therapeutic for you, which we know he likes to have people kill people. But he also agree that this would be therapeutic for him.
He also says, and I kind of like respected him a little bit in that moment because he was like, I will say it was me. I will take the blame because if I get caught, what's another death on my name? But you need to be the one to do it for your own therapy.
Yeah.
So I can't do it for you. I can take the credit, but I can't do it. And I was like, if we were talking about literally anything other than murder, that would be the best advice.
Right. And like in this specific situation, it is still the best advice, even with murder. But yeah, not a strong go-to. But then Bloom walks up and just shoots the guard. She's just like, all right, let's get to this.
Let's keep this train moving.
Let's keep rolling. And she says that she tells him, she was like, I was trying to save Will from you, but now you're the only one who can save him. Like now that we're in this situation, you're the only one. He's like, oh, so you're gonna let me go? And she's like, only if you promise to save Will. And so he's like, okay. He's like, here's how you have to frame him, like frame me for Mason's death, like take this part of my hair, put it in his hand, do this. Like he gives him the whole situation of how to be framed for Mason's death.
Right.
And Bloom frees him. And honestly, at this point, I don't usually agree with Alana. I probably would have done the same thing.
Oh yeah, no, honestly, the way the whole rest of the episode goes down, basically, I was team that this was how you handle the situation.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Like, we should not have gotten here in the first place. But now that we're here,
this is how we got. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And so then we jump over to Will, who is in a hospital bed. And Mason is there ready to have Will's face. And Mason starts asking Will if he's accepted Jesus because he has. And then he goes under. And I was like, I don't think you know Jesus. Like,
No,
I don't
Jesus.
think that's how
Jesus
that
is my
works.
homeboy, and he would not approve.
Right. He doesn't like this. And then Cordell, who is real strange, and real intense, comes over and starts giving Will a drug. And he's like, I'm gonna give you this drug and it's gonna completely paralyze you. However, you will still feel everything. And then it's like antagonizing him about like, I'm gonna slice your face open. Please tell me when it hurts. And it's like, obviously you can't. Like, it's a whole situation. It was
If there was ever proof of somebody who like erotically gets off on other people's pain, that was it.
it's this guy, yeah,
Yeah, like
for
that.
sure. And then we jump over to Hannibal, who's outside and free. And then we go back to Margot and Bloom, and they have discovered that the surrogate is indeed a pig.
Which
And
I don't understand how that was shocking for them.
Right. I also don't see how that is shocking because theoretically you would have known another woman was here somewhere because they're not like, unless they're locked up in a cage somewhere, you probably know they're there. But it turns out the baby is not alive. So, like, I mean, obviously the baby is not alive. And so Margot tells Bloom to just remove it. And then we have a lot of like cut scenes. And so we have the scene with her telling Bloom to remove it. Cordell starts cutting Will's face. And actively,
to be honest, I didn't really know what was happening at first. I didn't recognize what actually happened in the scene because I couldn't watch it because it was so gross. And Dan was like, "Why are they always trying to take Will's face?" And I was like, honestly, like, that's a really good question.
Yeah, it is a really good question. And then we see that Bloom is removing the dead baby and everything's going back and forth. And then we go back to Mason, who is now with his new face and with the Hannibal hard mask face on top. And he removes it. However, the skin falls off. So the skin is not.
And I don't know if you could tell, but I could tell that that was not
Will.
Not Will.
Yeah. And so we do then jump over to Hannibal, who is carrying Will, who is fully intact, passed out, but fully intact. And some of the burger people start coming out, and Chio is just like taking them out. She is on it.
That was like some fucking Born Identity, like just sniping everybody.
Everyone. And then Bloom walks into Mason's room and is yelling, and she tells him everyone's dead, and she's like this, and he's like, no, call these people, call that. She's like, everyone's dead. I don't think you understand. Like, this
because he's yelling, and he's asking where what's the asshole guy, what's his
Cordell.
name? Cordell. He's like, where's Cordell? She's like, he's dead. Everyone is dead, and we are also going to die.
Right. She's like, we're dead too, but here's what's going on in the interim. And at this point, Margot walks in and she tells him she found the surrogate. And he's like, cool. And then we learn, she's like, don't worry, we'll still have an heir. Because he's like, you can't kill me because it either has to be an heir or it's going to go to the Southern Baptist Church. And she's like, cool, don't worry. We stole your sperm while you were
this was so
paralyzed.
Creepy. I get it. Gross. I get why they did it. I understand what they did and like why they did it. But like just the idea when they were like, do you know what happens if you take a cattle prod to someone's prostate gland? And I was like, I have never been more uncomfortable in my entire life.
100%. 100%. I was like, this is bad. I don't like this. And then they throw him to the ills, who go down his throat like a gold.
I did. I was like, it's a gold. It was also horrific to watch.
It was horrific. But Mason's gone now. Probably for real. Who knows? We thought he died last time, but
this
like really looked real. There's a lot of blood.
There's not an eel ate its way through your mouth out of the back of your throat. There's very little you can do at that point.
Right. And so then we go back to Chio and Hannibal. And he's asking her if she's going to watch over him. He's like, is this what your plan is? Like, you're going to watch me? And she's like, yeah. She was like, but I'm not going to cage you like the last guy. She was like, there's some people that just can't be caged.
I think it wasn't
And,
even that. It wasn't even that she wouldn't cage him. She was saying, I can't watch you in a cage. Like,
Yeah.
if you basically, like, if you let yourself get caught, I'm out.
Right. And he says, and then she asked him if he killed her or if he ate her, and he says, I ate her, but I didn't kill her, which is the reference to his sister being fed to him after
Yeah.
she was killed. And then
which I guess does fix things, because the way he was talking about it to Bedelia,
Yeah.
I thought they were going
that he killed her.
that he killed her and that he was more at fault as a child than he was in the movie. And so I did appreciate that they kind of were like, no, like, I did eat her. I did consciously do that. I knew what I was doing, and I knew that it was going to change.
I think he was forced to eat her. I think that was part of the trauma that he experienced with these men that had like killed her. I always thought that was part of it. They fed her to him. And then I think he was changed forever after that.
Yeah, but I don't know how unconscious it was. Even in the movie, I wasn't sure how unconscious it was.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I always thought it was unconscious, but it also could have been like he knew it was happening, but he didn't have a way. Like it was that or he died type thing. And if it was like forceful, I don't think he willingly would have eaten his sister. I think he would have eaten someone else, but I don't think he willingly would have eaten his sister.
I don't know. Maybe.
Maybe. But I don't know.
If the choices were to eat my sister or die, I would die.
Right. That's fair. And then the teacup breaks again. So we're back to our little teacup analogy and our metaphor, whatever it is. And then we have Will, who wakes up in his own house, and Hannibal's there. Surprise. And they are having a therapy session now, it seems. Will, he has his notebook out, and Will is sitting up in the bed. And then they start talking about like teacups and time and mind palaces and how like they're going to come back from this. And Hannibal keeps asking him, he's like, because Will's like, the teacup can never go back together. And he's like, even in your mind, like it can't go back together. And Will tells him, he's like, basically, this is a zero-sum game. He's like, no one comes out of this a winner. Like,
yeah,
we're only going to come out worse on the other side. And he also says, like, he's like, I miss my dogs, but I won't miss you. Yeah. He's like, I can't. He's like, I want you to just go. I don't want to know where you are. I want to know what you're doing. I don't want you to exist basically anymore.
He's like, I can't put the teacup back together even in my mind. I can't even pretend that there's anything about you that I want to have anything to do with. I need you to leave. He's like, I'm not going to turn you in. I'm not going to call anybody, but I need you to leave and never be a part of my life again.
Yeah. And he's like, and I won't look for you. He's like, this is it. And so he seems to go, and the FBI arrives, and Will tells Jack that Hannibal's gone, but instead Hannibal walks out and surrenders himself. And this man, this monster,
oh my God,
surrenders and says Jack's like, why would you like do this? Like he says, I want you to know exactly where I am and how to find me. And looks at Will. And I was like, you are ruining everything in everyone's life.
What a piece of shit.
You're a monster.
And it's like, but the way they did it, I have to say, this episode was the first time that I went back to like almost the level of conflicted I felt about Hannibal in the first season. Because there was this pain about it, almost like the only person in my life that I care about doesn't want me. And so the only thing I know to do is to be vengeful. Like I don't have a different way to cope. I have no other way to cope other than to tell you how I feel in the least healthy way possible.
Yup. So that, and then we see Chio is over there with her gun watching over him.
I really did think
she gets taken in.
She turns away. I really did think she was going to shoot him for like trying to turn himself in. Then I was like, that doesn't make sense to the plot.
Yeah. I don't think she could shoot him if she wanted to. I don't think her brain is wired. It's the same thing as like I don't think Will could kill him if he wanted to. Like I think they're both too far in.
Yeah.
Um, which sucks. That sucks for them. And that is the end of our episode. I will tell you, I have like one trivia piece before we actually get into our discussion because it's not a lot. Glenn Fleshler, who plays Dr. Cordell, also appears in episodes of The Following on Fox, where his character paralyzes his victims before torturing them. So this is like a role for him.
I'm so glad that he gets to live that out.
Yeah, he gets to live his dream of torturing people. But yeah, so what did you think?
I kind of like that it kind of felt like a bookend to that story. It like almost felt like a true mid-season finale, like a genuine end to a movie situation. Because I really, while in theory the Hannibal on the Run story was interesting, I have disliked every way of how it has played out.
Yeah.
I do like that. I loved actually, as gross as it wasn't as much as I couldn't watch it. I did love that Mason died via the eel because at the end of in the season 2 finale when he was in bed and Margot like walked in the room and like was like looking and there was all those visuals of the eel in the glass case. Like so I like that they brought it back. They did a lot of like bringing things back to where they were. And it as sad as it is, it kind of feels like we can say, okay, all the rest of everything that has happened so far in season 3 didn't happen and we can start over. Like, which is a terrible way to look at it, but they basically like took all of the important plot threads from this like mini half of a season, closed them up so that we can just move on. Yeah. And because I know that the next episode is called The Great Red Dragon and we're going into the Red Dragon, the Tooth Fairy story, and we know that the Tooth Fairy characters are coming in, it like almost feels like season 3.5 / season 4 almost. Like it's like, okay, that story was not as successful as season 1 or season 2, but it's okay because we're on season 4. Right. Which I hate that it was like 7 weeks of a waste of my time. Right. With only a few plot threads that really felt like I would have been sad, like if we had never seen this half of the season, I would have been sad to not have Bella get the closure that she needed with the death. And I would have been sad to still question Alana's allegiance. Yeah.
Yeah, I do like that we got that wrapped up. I totally agree. This felt like almost like a test run for what if we're gonna do like a different style. Because it, like we've said the whole time, it doesn't feel like Hannibal. And this one, while still unsettling and not quite what I wanted, did feel like Hannibal more.
Yeah, I will say the scenes with Cordell were really the only ones that I just genuinely did not enjoy or find necessary. Like the flashback between the pig and the face was really the only part that I was like, this is gratuitous. Yeah. But at the same time, they did that before with scenes of like butchery versus Hannibal cooking. So it wasn't the first time. It was just that because I'm so used to the disgusting level of gratuity they've been using this season, I really didn't stomach it.
We didn't need it again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I will tell you, I have no self-control. So I did read the blurb under the next episode. And this is, I hope and pray in my heart that the second half of the season is going to be much cleaner and much more Hannibal-like because we do jump forward 3 years. So this is
which makes sense. Later. And that makes sense because if we didn't jump forward, knowing that it's the Red Dragon story, I knew we had to jump forward.
We jump something,
because if we didn't, the conflict of Will talking to Hannibal won't exist. Right. Like we have to jump forward, and I hope that my hope for the season going forward is that the Tooth Fairy story is not a one and done. Like I do hope that we basically have at least 4 of the next 7, because there's what, 6 episodes left?
Yes.
8, 9, there's 6 episodes left. I hope we have at least 3 to 4 of them that
Mhm.
involve this Tooth Fairy story, because I don't want the conflict, the internal turmoil for Will of having to go back and talk, like, and the
Yeah.
conflict of Alana and Will dealing with or dealing with Hannibal to solve the Tooth Fairy. I don't want that to be downplayed. I
Yeah.
think that there's a great opportunity for both of them to have really good acting moments. I hope that that is there. I am curious how they're going to use Freddy in the Tooth Fairy story based
I
on
know.
how they've already used the Tooth Fairy elements of Freddy's story
Yeah.
in other things. So I'm curious.
Because Freddy already, like, Freddy died.
Died.
Freddy had the death scene that happened in the movie already.
Yeah, the wheelchair death scene has already happened.
Right. So are they going to kill her again, or is she going to be a bigger and different part? I think she's going to be a bigger and different part.
Or are they just going to rewrite that all together and have it be someone
that's what
else?
I think. Oh,
Like,
I think it's going to be Freddy, but I think they're just going to adjust her character to be like, if Freddy wasn't stupid and didn't die, then this is what we would have gotten for him, like a good detective, like, or a good journalist.
But like, so I don't know that, but my hope is that it is dragged out over more episodes, and that there is some weight to it, and that the focus is less on the murder and more on the psychological torture with Alana and Will and Hannibal.
Yeah, I feel like it has to be, because I feel like because we're jumping 3 years, we're back in the US, we're transitioning again, and I feel like we can't just be like story of the week cop show after this. Like, it wouldn't fit right. And because so many people really do want this show to come back, it has to change from what the first half of the season was.
Right.
There's no way people watch the first half.
Right.
Like, yes, we need more.
But okay, to be fair, we say that and we think that, but the ratings were still good.
They were so good, but I just feel like it couldn't have been. And I feel like my concern, again, I don't know because I haven't looked into all the details since we haven't finished it, but like, my concern is that people watch the first half and then we're like, we're not renewing this. It's not getting, like, it's got good ratings, but I don't think it didn't get the viewership. That's one of the reasons it got canceled. It didn't get the viewership. It's a different show. People aren't buying into it. They canceled it before the second half came. The second half came, rocked everyone's world, and then they were like, too late, we've canceled it. We've filled something into that slot, and now everyone's pissed that we have a canceled show. That is what I'm hoping, because I do want the second half to be better than the first half, and that's what I'm kind of anticipating.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Obviously, we haven't looked any of those details up yet, but yeah, it's interesting. I saw this thing. Actually, I saw this thing on Reddit that like took every episode of the show and like color coded the ratings to kind of get like a map of whether they were like good, bad, or whatever. And I actually made it for the shows that we have already finished. I didn't do it for the shows that we're still in the middle of.
Okay.
Because I didn't want to spoil things for myself.
Right.
But I then was kind of fascinated myself at how it actually ended up turning out. So I'm gonna do a quick screen share with.
Okay, you are a little spotty, so I hope it does come through.
Okay. Probably because as soon as I tried to use my internet, it was like, haha, you can't do that. So this is
I love a good show and tell. Everyone jump to YouTube if you're not on there.
Yeah, so this is what Hemlock Grove looked like. So obviously you can see there's no green anywhere on there. The show was fucking terrible.
Bless it.
Kolchak was
one.
Okay.
What episode is that?
Episode
Do you have one?
11. I don't have it up. I can pull it up really fast while we
It's
but
got to be the Egyptian god one. It's got to be.
I was really surprised that it was as yellow as it was. I thought we were going to
Yeah.
get some really low
Low stuff.
because I mean,
Yeah.
if you look at Hemlock Grove, but to be fair, Hemlock Grove only has two orange. It's like all
Right.
solidly yellow. So they were like, this is the most average show of all time. It's not good. It's not bad. It's just fucking existing. Um,
Yeah.
and Kolchak was again the most average show ever. Um,
Mhm.
the
God, I love a spreadsheet.
it was the demon with the ability to appear as a person they know and trust, the horror in the heights. It was the one where like the everybody was being killed by somebody they know because the demon was like
Oh,
shape-shifting.
oh, that was a good one. That was a
Yeah.
good one.
And then
Mhm.
Dead Like Me was also surprising to me because it was a lot more green than I thought. Like I
Mhm.
love the show. We know I love the show, but I wasn't. Um, and then I have Bates Motel, which this is
Sure.
unsurprising to me. The dark
Right.
green is like 9 and above. So like it's unsurprising to
Mhm.
me that this show had like
Yeah.
was so
Such
solid.
good ratings. Yeah.
Such good ratings.
And it lasted so long, it had a good wrap
Yeah.
up.
And
So
exactly. And like, but then the other one that was really shocking to me was The Exorcist.
being so
Was
yellow and not green.
being, well, no, being having as much green as it did
Oh,
because it did not
it didn't do
uh
well with
it
fans
didn't do well with fans.
or with ratings. It did
Or
okay
with
with fans, but not with the
yeah. So like
critics
the
per
fact that
se.
it
Yeah.
was all green and yellow, I was like, okay, like that's actually really like fascinating to me. So I will be interested. And obviously I know what the Stargate one looks like because the person on Reddit who did the Stargate one was what inspired me to do
Yeah.
this in the first place. Um but so I will be how do I now stop the sharing? Here we go. I will be very intrigued when we finish more shows to see how the spreadsheet works, but it also does like make me feel better about our choices of what we're
Yeah.
reviewing because sometimes I think like, oh my God, we're just watching the shittiest things in the world.
Yeah.
But of everything we've watched, there's like 3 episodes total of everything we've reviewed that even fall into the not good range. And nothing
Yeah.
falls in the like genuinely
Bad
terrible
range.
range. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I agree. Well, and also like that's the reason that most of these shows have been picked because either they have done exceedingly well or they have such a good like what's the word? Cult following type thing. Like
right.
with Hemlock Grove, like it's not a great show, but it does have a good cult following and like it's
Yeah.
fun to talk about. It's fun to discuss. Like it's got a lot of elements to talk about. And it does follow a lot of the right trajectory of a horror show. Like it,
Yeah.
even if it's not great, it does
Yeah.
have what it's supposed to have to be the show. And it's got such good characters. And I think that's what holds a lot of these really strong. Um, yeah, I am also more surprised by Dead Like Me because that one is more like Brian Fuller cult classic. Like you like Brian Fuller,
Right.
you like Dead Like Me, or you've
But
never
I
heard of it. And you're like,
also,
I had never
so
heard of it.
yeah, so also those things that I did were based off the IMDb ratings. I would
Mhm.
be interested to make a mirror and see if like Metacritic or something that was like
Yeah.
actual critic reviews was the same. The problem is individual episode ratings don't exist past the
Mhm.
first season for most shows because critics
Right.
don't waste their time.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is fine. It's a
Whatever.
bummer. I want you to compare it to our the Stargate one to our friend who makes his blog that stopped making his blog.
Oh, that's also upsetting. I just want him to
You should
make
email him. We should email him from Death and Aliens and be like, hey,
we we
we
have been
love you.
relying on your blog
You brought us
to
so
tell
much
us
joy.
things. Yeah, it's okay. I still have
Yeah.
never emailed the girls from the other podcast because
Oh my gosh.
I'm terrible. When last year did I have time?
It's a new year. It's a new
It's a new
year.
year. It's a new
You're
me.
settled. You're doing
I will
great.
settle. I will get there. Yeah, I'll do
You're
it.
thriving.
Yeah.
I will send you pleasant reminders because I am
Perfect.
not thriving. So I will let you talk to people that don't know me.
Good times.
But yeah. Yeah, I'm really hopeful of the second half of the season.
Yeah.
I hope that that is not gonna depress me in a week, but I do feel very hopeful about it. And I love the cast. I love the show other than this weird thing. And we didn't have any of those weird like visuals. We had like, some stuff like we had in the earlier seasons, but not as many weird visuals as we had in
Yeah.
the like first half of the season. So I feel like we're kind of coming back into our own. It felt like an experimental season. They were like, didn't work. Let's try
Right.
again. And
Yeah.
so that's what I'm hoping happened. So we'll see. In the meantime, who do you want to punch in the face?
Mason.
Yeah, he's the one. But in true fashion, I will also go with a dead person. And I'm going to go with Cordell.
Though, I mean, those two were the worst. They're both dead now,
They
which is
were
great.
monsters.
But they were terrible.
Yeah.
Like to the point where I almost, as I was watching it, was like, is Hannibal going to be my MVP?
Who is your MVP?
My MVP is going to be Alana, which was a controversial choice.
It is, right?
Because I usually don't agree with her. But, and not that the things that she did were good, but they were correct.
Right.
But I was torn between Alana and Hannibal, and then I was like, why am I even considering it? Hannibal would have been my MVP until the "so you'll know where to find me" line, and then I was like, fuck you.
So I also would have gone with Alana.
Yeah.
Controversial choice, yes, but I also would have gone with her. I also leaned towards Hannibal. Even with that line, I was like, I don't know. He's going to be a big help now. Like, it's not good for anyone's mental state, but it really is going to be helpful for the FBI. I was like, it's know where he is, and he's not killing people because he turned himself in. But ultimately, I'm not going to go with him because I just can't morally do that. So I think I'm going to go with the next best criminal. I'm going to go with Chio.
That's what I
saved
thought
Jack
you were gonna, Chio, when she shot the guards and didn't shoot Jack, I go, okay, maybe. But then when Alana ripped, as soon as she ripped the hair out of Hannibal's head when she let him go, I was like, okay, this is for real.
Yeah. Alana would have been my first pick.
Yeah.
But alas, you've picked her. So
yes.
I'll go with Chio. Yeah, well, that is our Hannibal episode. We had 2 really long episodes this week, so I hope you're having a great time. And I hope you love Marvel. If you have any feelings about this episode, thoughts about the upcoming weeks and how the time shift works, obviously no spoilers because we haven't watched it yet.
Yep.
I mean, by the time this comes out, we will have watched it.
Yeah.
But no spoilers still. Let us know. Email us, deathandaliens@gmail.com. If you're the 2 people we've mentioned, maybe we'll email you. You can find us on all of the social media at Death and Aliens. You can find me at CECloud13.
And you can follow me everywhere at EMKAY_superstar.
And we'll see you for Sci-Fi Sunday.
Bye.
Bye.